Um, I've just popped out and then I've come back and I'm shattered. I haven't slept. Um, I was making a live stream earlier and the thing cut out and it just, pardon my language, but it just keeps pissing around. It just keeps doing that. And the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and I just can't be bothered. The reason why I'm making this video, sorry, not live stream video. I hate everything that's modern. I don't belong here. I really am going home soon. When I say I'm going home soon, I just say what a lot of people are saying on YouTube. A lot of believers. I'm going to be with my mother at some point very soon, but and I'll explain why. I was crying earlier. Right now, I don't have any tears in me, but I haven't had a full-on mental breakdown yet. Um, right, I'll I'll explain it like this. Basically, I am fighting for as long as I can to get justice with what I'm going through. Um, I I have texted a partner that I used to be in a relationship with, and that is the ultimate um, humiliation because I should not have to contact someone that I'm not in a relationship with. Well, actually, I've responded to his text messages. He sent me a text message, and basically, um, basically, he asked me to message him what I'm dealing with, but because you know, I can't go on. I cannot go on much longer like this. Um, Stupid. There's something wrong with the internet. Um, and he something wrong with my internet. Um, maybe he's got all the time in the world to write out his A4 diaries, which he's been doing, well, since the beginning of time, I think, because he could even tell me what he wrote in his diary the day I was born in 1982. He could actually remember the episode, the episode of Doctor Who that he watched the day that I was born, and he could recite it back to me. Well, that's when I was in a relationship with him. Um, and he's born in 1969 and I'm born in 1982, so there we go. But just me sending those text messages to him earlier has taken it out of me, and I haven't, don't be fooled by what you see, I have not slept. I do look terrible, I feel awful. I could look worse, but um I have I don't want to be texting someone that I am not in a relationship with. I am in a relationship, or supposedly, with someone who's supposed to love, that I love, who said they saw me as like a wife and wanted a child with me 9 years ago. And that's when all these things started happening to me. I lost my flat of 7 years. He screamed at me to prosecute him. This is my partner that I'm with now, that I love, who's watching me, who's watched me being attacked. And all these horrific things have happened to me since I've been with Darren. And I am texting the ex partner, someone that I used to be in a relationship with, what has been happening to me. And that if he wants to help me, this is what he needs to do. And I don't really want to say what my last text message to him was, but I basically said someone, in capitals, I said someone obviously wants me to suicide because he knows that this involves my sisters. Now, Darren, I know you're watching this, and I mean every word that I have said. I love you, and I can't live without you, and I can't be abused as well, and I can't cope with all of this. I honestly, if you really are the man of Yahweh that you made me believe that you are, the man of Yahweh, right? Then you need to prove this to me. You need to tell me the truth. Because Tanya and Bronya, and I've got a few things to say about them. Tanya and Bronya, who illegally went through my father's things without me, and the Swan Advocate confirmed that. I was locked out of my supported flat on news that my father died, where there were staff trained to deal with complex needs. My needs were apparently too complex for them. Yes, staff trained 24/7 to deal with complex needs. But apparently, my needs are mysteriously way too complex for them. Way too. Yeah, can you believe that? They couldn't even deal with the death of a father, yet they illegally went through my father's things without me. And as for Tanya texting me in June, I've only just read the text message because I'm full of so much pain, anger, narcissistic abuse, confusion, etc. She texts me to say, why don't I buy a static home? A static home, Tanya. A static home. A second-hand caravan costs £40,000. I've only got, I don't want to say on YouTube how much money is in my account, but I've got well under £4,000 and it's going on hotels and I'm in arrears paying for storage and you're telling me to buy a static home. My late father's inheritance wouldn't have covered, was half the amount that a second-hand caravan would cost. And you and Simon have got 3 houses between you, and Andy Canfield, the Lansdowne hotel manager, who contacted head of police, and the managing director of SDR Living, the very people who locked me out of my flat on news my father died, and you went through my father's things illegally, without me. And it turns out that Andy Canfield stayed in your house, did he? and that your friend was the woman on the ITV News, Louise. That was your friend on the local ITV News because the Lansdowne hotel manager, Andy Canfield, was defrauding your friend. So he stays in your house in New Haven, and that's your friend Lou. I'm supposed to believe all this insanity, which is obviously because these weird things do happen after all, don't they? They happen to me. And he contacted head of police and the managing director, and he's now in prison for 7 years for defrauding your friend who was on the ITV News. And these are the very people who have done these things to me. And you're telling me to buy a static fucking home, pardon my language. You, Tanya, I had security mysteriously come up to me. You're never in Eastbourne. You never go shopping in Eastbourne, but you just happened to be in Greggs when me and Darren went in there, and Darren had his head down like this, and you suddenly screamed and pulled your hair out because I said that you illegally went through my father's things without me, which the Swan Advocate has confirmed, Joanna Standing. So you Barwells have done this illegally, and I can prove, and I will share it to my Facebook wall, the messages that my father sent me saying he wanted to see me, because you went nuts when you said he didn't want to see me, which you know is a lie, because you chased him away on my 12th birthday, and even he remembered that. You are hurting because my father hurt you and because his father hurt him. There are generational curses. I didn't know that my mother had had an illegal abortion in 1958. And you and Bronya, when I took an overdose 6 months after our mother died, you went into that flat at 10 Kent Court without my permission. I was in hospital. I was apparently on a dialysis machine. I don't remember anything. I just woke up in hospital with some ice cream and I could barely move because I was shattered. But my godmother told me I was flailing about so much they had to put the mattress on the floor. She said that Bronya was crying and stroking my face, but you told the hospital staff she does this all the time, which is also a lie. But if you and Bronya love me so much, yet interestingly, you don't love Bronya, but you'll call her a man. And I have got a landlady who should be in prison right now. But I've been threatened with being a political prisoner because I cried for Bronya and I hugged her, but her support worker swore at me in Eastbourne Wetherspoons because I refused to call her a man. And this involves Josh Burundi, Ewan Morrison, the MP caseworker, Joe Holden. I've got all the court documents. That elderly woman in Bexhill, that 86-year-old woman who said he's got 16 pages of corruption against him, including sexual harassment. And apparently her neighbour said she's been committed. It's only the intelligent people who get committed to a mental unit, like John Alexander Patterson of the Royal Commission, and Eastbourne Police were out of their jurisdiction. So they went to the Royal Courts of Justice, where this brave man in his 70s who'd gone to Scotland Yard with legalese documents that he showed me to do with fraud, theft, money laundering, and baby organ harvesting on the NHS. But you, Tanya, you've got it all made for you, and Mum said that. And you've even pushed away Janet. Janet said to you years ago, you'll lose Bryony as a sister. But now You've lost Janet after 50 years of friendship. Janet is 20 years older than me. There are three generations of friendship. Mum and Iris are best friends, and their mothers were best friends. And Mum and Iris's daughters, you, Tanya, and Janet were best friends. You tried to get me to hit you, and I wouldn't hit you. I then took an overdose. I've lashed out at Darren, yes. I lashed out at Darren because I'd already had, as you know, domestic abuse. And then I went on, after that overdose, I had rape, which I dealt with on my own. And by the way, you and Bronya, who's lied to my face, but I didn't say anything at the time, in front of her support worker, she said she was my carer. I didn't say anything. Even Chris can verify that I was a paid carer at Cheney's, and that ironically, we've all seemed to have been bullied. Me and many other people were bullied by that elderly matron from what's it called, Clifton House, because I know someone who, funnily enough, moved to High Wycombe. She's the same age as you. She's a beautician. She was bullied as a teenager by that elderly matron, and so was Lisette, who said, "Oh, she's a mental health nurse in the psychiatric unit in Eastbourne on the Amberley ward. Oh, I heard she could be a bitch." But Bronya was bullied by that elderly matron. I was physically sick from being bullied by what was her name? The Irish matron, Joyce. And you realise you have helped create my severe disability. You've helped create this. It wasn't there before. That's a disability bus pass for anyone who doesn't know. OCD. While I was in the hospital, you and Bronya, you went in, and Anita, my Portuguese godmother in New Haven, she said to me, "Don't be angry, but while you were in hospital, Bronya and Tanya went, yes, you went into my flat and tidied everything up. Do you know what? I paid £50 an hour, which is extortionate, because she wanted to charge me £200 for cancelling. A woman on benefits, a woman who is trained in OCD and clutter, whose business went into liquidation, a young woman. She said to me, you should never let people go in and clean things up for you, because you'll often end up in a worse state than you were in before. I have now been exploited by several landlords, including this landlady who should be in prison. Darren's got OCD. And Caroline Ansell, the ex-MP for Eastbourne, her office suggested that Darren take a caring role for me. He's suddenly ill. Now, I could already foresee a disaster brewing, but not years and years of torture, a decade of torture with Darren, going through all of this. More hell than I've ever had in my life. Rape was nothing. You know, I dealt with that on my own. I went to the Saturn Rape Victim Centre in Crawley and Hove Crown Court in 2011. What Eastbourne Police have done to me in the last 9 years, 10 years since I've been with Darren, all these things have happened. We're both very middle class people. Darren's from Surrey, just like my mother. Very middle class. Very middle class. Darren went to a grammar school, just like you, Tanya. I can't count the number of times we've both been arrested. Now, Darren says this was happening before he came along. Well, I'm sorry, Darren, but I've never been arrested before. I don't know about you, but I've never been arrested before you came along. You were arrested in Eben's flat over a set of her keys when you got me to stay in her flat. Then I got the supported flat. And that cancer patient, Juliet Rawson, who's now since died of cancer, her email to Caroline Ansell, the MP, was ignored. And a mutual friend of hers and yours, Darren, and Heather's, because it's a small world, Charlie, apparently sent that email to Josh Bibarundi, the MP. Why did you and Morrison, the MP caseworker, want evidence of your caring role, Darren, when I told Care for the Carers years ago that you are not my carer, as a reason for me to stay in Eastbourne? What the fuck? And they're telling me to leave you, Darren. They're using you to control me, and that is illegal and it's abuse. And I swear, I've put it in a text to Chris. I love you, Darren. I've had these gifts for you for over a year. Are you planning to leave me alone on Christmas Day again and come back the following day to swear at me about my sisters like you did last year? Because it was in December last year that Joe Holden emailed me to say he had a full legal aid certificate to commit the landlady to prison. The longer this goes on, the longer this drags on, the worse it's going to be. If you love me, you will tell the truth, Darren. You and my sisters need to tell the truth. I kept away from Bronya, my middle sister, because she was abusive to me in our late mother's flat. So much so, and this was before I was a rape victim. I put someone in prison for 2 years and 10 years on a sex offenders register before that, before I took the overdose. My first Christmas without my mother in 2009, a few months after she had died, and 2 months before I took an overdose. Bronya was horrible to me in Mum's flat. There was a card that said, remembering the child you were, and proud of the woman you've become. And my first birthday without Mum, she said to me, what have you ever done to make Mum proud? You helped kill her with cancer. And then she said, oh, I said that. She later said, felt a tiny bit bad. But she dumped Mum's crap on me. There was ice and snow outside. Brunya and Tanya can drive. I can't. I'm 43, I can't drive. She was dumping Mum's things on me. The clutter was building up. For 7 years, yes, Darren, you're right. For 7 years, I was in clutter. And Tanya and Bronya contributed to it. They didn't bring me things that I asked for. They dumped embarrassing things like Mum's personal, private things. Bronya dumped things like Mum's bras and knickers on me, which wouldn't fit me anyway. Not being rude about my mother, but my mother was bigger, you know? Yeah. I don't, not being rude. My mother was attractive and everything, but you know, bigger. Like, I mean, we're crying out loud here. My mother would be disgusted. Iris was disgusted. And Janet was disgusted. She said years, even before Mum died, she said, I think it was Mum that told me this, that Janet had said to Tanya, you'll lose her as a sister one day. And I can't even read Janet's message on Facebook because I'm so overwhelmed. I am absolutely. But I know that there's only one way to deal with the devil. There's only one way to survive this, and it's to do what I've been doing in recent times, and it's to turn the other cheek and stay calm and keep praying. Because I did get to that point because I'm only human and there'd be something wrong with me if I didn't scream out for help. There'd be something wrong with me if I just said nothing, like a Victorian China doll. How are you, Bridie? Oh, yes, thank you. I'm just drinking my English cup of tea, all polite, and there's nothing wrong. No. I actually had a nursing assistant give me a thumbs up for screaming, shouting, swearing, and picking up a stone. And I looked at it and I thought, how am I going to get these people to listen to me? The police took the stone out of my hand, but then I already realised it was perspex, it wasn't glass, so it wasn't going to shatter because it's exactly for people like me. Not the time wasters in there, and believe me, there are a lot of time wasters, a lot of people who've never been disciplined, who take drugs, who drink, who are attention seekers, and some of them are elderly, just like this landlady who wanted to help me write a book, who should be in prison. She's what, only a year younger than my mother? My mother would be 88 next month. But she's that unhappy. She's a retired hospital matron that having a second home in Malta is not enough for her to be happy. She's got to harass and attack a vulnerable tenant of hers and commit serious crimes. And after the Supreme Court ruling in Parliament to say a biological woman is a woman, the police had already sexually assaulted me. I've already said all their names, their badge numbers, everything. 2 male officers who exposed my breasts. Then I had that malicious communications letter, pages long, that went to the Strand Hotel, which is a hotel that was on GB News for illegal immigrants. I've spent thousands of pounds of back pip and my late father's inheritance on the hotels. The police were harassing me again, asking me to attend a voluntary interview I turned down. I asked them to leave me alone. I've got the video footage and it's on my YouTube channel. Just like the convicted criminals who attacked me where my bedroom window was smashed. You know what? That ward veteran who said it wasn't worth fighting for this country, no, it wasn't. It really wasn't. My grandmother was a teacher. She'd be 121. She gave my mother a privileged upbringing. She lived through 2 world wars. My mother then lived through 1 world war. And for what? For what? Grandma would be 121. Mum would be 88 next month. And you, Tanya and Bronya, you're so cowardly that you don't love Bronya, but you're calling her a man. Why? You're a coward then. You and Simon calling Bronya a man, a he. You're cowards. Because you don't want the same to happen that happened to me to happen to yourself. So you think then you would have Mum and Grandma if they were alive? I'm so glad they're not here. I'm so glad they are not here. Because as Mum said, some people believe that life on earth is hellfire. Yes, because you're making it that way, because of your narcissistic behaviour. You would have Mum and Grandma imprisoned for refusing to call Bronya a man. But then you wouldn't, would you? Because you love Mum and Grandma and you're too ashamed. You're full of shame and you're projecting that shame onto me by having crimes against my human rights. All of this is written into law. It's even written into law. The black belt barrister has shown evidence. It's written into law for us as freedom of expression to be offensive. But I wasn't even being offensive to Bronya. It was a civil matter. It was all lies and it was all bullshit. And it was all because you wanted to make it all up over hurty words that weren't even said. I cried for Bronya, I hugged her, and Darren said to me, "What a lovely thing to do, so that everyone can see." So that everyone can see. Right. So I embarrassed Bronya by crying for her and hugging her. So much so that she had to call the police. Am I supposed to believe all of this? Because it was Darren who suggested I leave a card and flowers for Bronya. I haven't been anywhere near my late mother's flat since she died because Bronya was so nasty to me. And I'm then threatened by a desk sergeant at Hammond's Drive in Eastbourne that if I leave a card and flowers for my sister, I will go to prison, which is what Darren suggested I do. And then Darren screaming at me to prosecute him. All of this gaslighting. Darren, I love you, and I am being deadly serious about this. What I have texted Chris, yeah, my last text to Chris was someone wants me to suicide. I love you and I need the truth. But all of you, I love you all, but you have all three of you done it. Well, Tanya and Bronya have definitely done something illegal against me. I don't know about Darren, but he screamed at me to prosecute him. I love him and I won't do that. I love him. But you, Tanya and Bronya, my own flesh and blood, have done something illegal against me. You've illegally gone through my father's things. And now the police have committed crimes against me. My free speech. These psychopaths are questioning me over my love for you, and they are pushing me to suicide. And I am going to email the chairman of this political party and say, this is what has been done to me. And Joshua Burundi, you can play victim as much as you like, because I'd never even met you before, and I said, "How do you know my name?" You said, "Yeah, I know your YouTube channel." I'm a victim of it, and I was just stunned. I was speechless. I said nothing. I didn't say that. Do you realise that this has happened to me, and this has happened to me, and this has happened? So he's a victim of me being. He ignored my online application as counsellor OBE. And then I'm his constituent, and he is paid to serve and correct everything my mother said about this country. I was always ashamed to be English because of how people behave here. And I wished that my mother had never come back to this country. And she said it herself, how people are cowardly, how no one stands up for any. People do all of this and not one person has done anything, and none of you have. None of you. Mum would be absolutely ashamed of all of you. And this is why, praise Yahweh, I look forward to being with her. And on that note, there's a woman in America who has added me. I've accepted her friend request on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook, but I had a troll comment from the police abusing powers community. He's absolutely vile. He's got troll accounts. Now I just want to say to that lady in America, you've got a mutual Facebook friend. I know she thinks I'm a bit crazy, but so long as it's said in a complimentary way, I can take anything. But you'd have to be crazy to survive all of this. It's a miracle what I've survived. Can I just say to that American lady, I'm not going to say your name, but I had a look at your Facebook wall, and you are a woman of. I could see just from your Facebook photos. You know how you can just tell. You can just tell. that someone is, for want of better words, a woman of God, a woman of Yahweh. I could see it, and the light that was coming from the pictures of you. And I don't mean just, what's the word, aesthetic. You're not just like beautiful aesthetically. I'm talking about, I know I shouldn't speak as if I've met you, because I haven't, but I feel I've got a good feeling from your photos, and I hope and pray I'm right. I just felt warmth, you know. I know one should be very careful saying things like that. I know. Um, you can't tell. You have to spend time with someone to know what someone's like, but you know what I mean. Um, and I saw you shared a video. Can I just say? Well, I'll just say this. I did see one of your Facebook videos and I liked it. And it made me feel better because it was talking about these trolls, these these energy vampires, these narcissists. I don't know if you've seen any of my YouTube videos before, but as I said, this is a lady in America, who's got a mutual Facebook friend in America. And what was I going to say? I'm being deadly serious when I say this. I know you might think it's a strange thing to say, but I'm being deadly serious because um, when I say I'm at the end of it, this can't go on forever. I can't cope with all of this. I know you might think, oh well, you would have suicided a long time ago. It does take guts to jump off Beachy Head. We've got a world famous suicide spot on our doorstep. I'm being deadly serious. I'm being deadly serious. When I say contact your local politician, and I give you permission to contact my local MP in Eastbourne in England, because no, seriously, I give you permission to do that. I really do, because this what's happening to us will affect you anyway. They'll have martial law. These illegal immigrants are going to be used for something much darker. And I'm a refugee in my homeland. I've got no GP practice, no home, no dentist, nothing. The NHS was set up after the war. Free health, free health. They've taken everything from me. They've taken the only thing I have left, my free speech, and it's going to come to America. I had a dream. I think it was last year that I met Donald Trump, and he was interested in what I had to say. You know what? This is everything he's talking about. My mother had an illegal abortion in Pennsylvania in 1958. She met Harry Belafonte, and I have to be careful what I say because, again, I don't want to be arrested for saying the truth. But my mother was working at a gas station, and she served this famous Hollywood actor, and the woman she was working with referred to him as an N word, and this was at a time when black people were being persecuted in America, and she was obviously disgusted. And my mum saw so much in her time. I'm more impressed and excited that she met Gene Kelly, because Gene Kelly was one of my dance heroes, and I wanted to be a dancer. But yeah, my mother worked for a woman's magazine in the 50s, and she met Gene Kelly. Yeah, that's when celebrities were celebrities, by the way. But she had a great life. She travelled the world. She worked at sea, and she could have lived anywhere in the world. She was 18, and she was engaged to an American airman, an Irish drunk, several people probably. But she wanted to settle in New Zealand. But had she known that this is what happened to me or any of her children, well, it's just me. I was meant to get support from the social services, and I'm just a number to be exploited. Never taken drugs, don't drink. 43, I'm at the end of it now. And this really is the end of it. So, this is a message to not just my partner Darren and my sisters. This is a message to any genuine people in America or even Australia, anywhere in the West. New Zealand, it's going on in New Zealand as well. I mean, life, the the quality of life is better in New Zealand, but everything that's happening here, it's just that UK is an absolute cesspit, and they're putting people in prison for their freedom of speech, and that's all I've got. There's no reason for me to stay alive, so I'm being deadly serious. Send this video to Donald Trump. Anyone in America? No, I'm being deadly serious. So this lovely lady on Facebook in America that I've friended, or as I said, anyone in the West, anyone who's wants the truth, who wants our freedoms, blah blah blah. Do as you will, but what I'm saying is I would really appreciate it. And I would appreciate it if you could contact my MP. My MP. They're a joke. They're all crooks and criminals. The council, the lot. Do you know what? I've got evidence on my laptop of bed bugs crawling on me. I showed the council evidence of this and they made me street homeless for complaining. I then get my bedroom window smashed. I have criminals that were mentioned in the national BBC News. And you know what the BBC News has done to Donald Trump? Yes, I've seen that. They are absolute they're paedophiles and liars. Anyway, no, I know I have to be careful what I say. But if you go online and look up Sherelle Clark and Dion Clark, mother and daughter jailed for mugging the elderly, you will see they were mentioned in the BBC News. I've got recordings of the daughter attacking me. I recorded the neighbours at 12 Belmore Road. And if you look up this mother and daughter, they had been released from prison 2 years earlier to do the same thing in my accommodation. Charles Lucas Property Management were protecting them, and they are friends with this landlady who should be in prison, which is why she wanted to help me write a book before she'd even met me, because of my amateur YouTube channel that has got this evidence. And instead the police have targeted me because I refused to call my sister a man. So do you see where I'm going with all of this? So on that note, I'm going to finish this video, and I just want to say this lovely lady, I'm sorry I've forgotten your name. This Facebook friend request that I've accepted. You're friends with someone called Laurie in America. I found her on Facebook a few years ago, and I'm actually really surprised that she watches my YouTube, because I didn't think anyone would be interested, even though in my humble opinion I've got some interesting stories. But there we go. I noticed you have it all. I'm going to wrap this up because everything I'm saying is really a message to my partner. It's a very distressing message because I really am at the end of it. So it's personal. All of this is personal to me and the people who know me. But it's also, if you like, a message to anyone out there regarding the freedom of speech stuff. What I'm saying is you are looking at. I spoke out at Let Women Speak in March. Kelly J. Keane didn't want me to come back for whatever reason, because of that funny Irish woman and the one who does the filming. They turned all weird. They wanted evidence that I wasn't a man. I had bruises on my arms. caused by the police. This was in May this year after the Supreme Court ruling in Parliament. So this is what Donald Trump needs to hear this. I would love to meet him, but I would also, I'd be too terrified to meet him, to be honest, because it's all or nothing with me. I'd just melt into a thing on the floor, I just like, you know. But no, I'm being deadly serious. This is about truth. I everything that he stands for, no nonsense. He's no nonsense. He's old school. My mother would be 88 next month, and my mother fought to get fox hunting banned. My mother was a rare gem, just like me, but she really was like super mum, super everything. There wasn't anything my mother couldn't do, and she was no nonsense. She made some toffee nosed, fox hunters in London at the protests. They thought that she was. That's why she was asked to do a scene with Sam Neill, because they felt that she was very upper middle class, whereas she's not upper middle class. She's middle class, like me. But um, they asked her to do a scene with Sam Neill, and to give him a look as if to say that's not how you behave in business class. So she used that to mock the fox hunters. These Satanists that love, the Freemasons love red, black, and white. They're occult, satanic colours, and that's what the fox hunters wear. So yeah, and that's why I don't like Nigel Farage, not just because he's controlled opposition, but there we go. He's a fox hunter. That makes him a psychopath. So yeah, a lot of them do that. They're evil. They're all I've got in the world. Foxes. I've just been out tonight, and there was another. There were two foxes. I went up to one of them, and he's sitting on the wall looking at me. I was looking into a tree, looking at the birds singing, and a little. Oh, sometimes I pick up hedgehogs. They said that hedgehogs were going to be extinct by 2025, and I've picked up loads of hedgehogs in the last few years. So, yeah, bullshit. Pardon my language. No, if I sound like I'm getting excited, I'm not. I'm just trying to get I'm shattered. I haven't slept. But I would really appreciate it. I think, you need to send it, just if you could just clip what I'm saying, and send those clips to Donald Trump, or anyone in America, anyone. I'm a technophobe. Just clip out the bits where I'm talking about my free speech, pardon me, because I cannot. The police are not the police. In England doesn't exist anymore. They are arresting. They are protecting terrorists, illegal immigrants, the ones who go around stabbing people's children and exposing themselves. I've seen loads of videos of people doing that. I'm 43. This is why I'm glad I don't have children. And yeah, and loads of people in prison for hurty words. So, seriously, I love Darren. I love you so much. You brought me to Abbey Ahwa. You helped save my soul, and I love you, but I need the truth. For the first time in my life, I've had thoughts that I don't want. Where do you get drugs? I don't know where. I've never taken drugs. I'm 43. I don't drink. I don't smoke. These psychopaths have driven me to that point of, oh, where do you get this stuff from? Do you know what I mean? And I've never in my life wanted to leave the UK. Used to go on holidays abroad when my mother was alive, lovely middle class upbringing, was always happy to come back to England. You know, our lovely green hills. I want to get the hell out of this cesspit country because the system is not just broken, it's run, lunatics are running the asylum, and it is rife in this town. And I can't escape. We've got a world famous suicide spot, and it's kind of suspiciously strategically placed. Yes, I am being sarcastic. But in a town that just happens to have a stronghold for Freemasonry and corruption, it's one of the most corrupt councils. I mean, what kind of people do you employ to threaten you? Councillors, MPs, police, when you've been put in an accommodation with people who've come out of prison that are on tags. There's a lot of drugs and human trafficking in Eastbourne, and we've got the Channel here. And 30% of the hotels are apparently used for illegal immigrants. And this is everything that Donald Trump has warned our Prime Minister about. So, on that note, I pray that the lady on Facebook in America, please pray for me. I know I noticed in your comments, if you don't, I did have a nose at your Facebook. I did accept your friend request. One of your friends has put Yeshua. It's Yahshua. It's YAH. It's got to have the father's name in it. But I'm not being critical. You know, that's one of the biggest commandments is to keep his name. And Darren was the one who brought me to the name of Yahweh. But yeah, no, I really can't go on anymore. If you know, I can't live without Darren. I've never felt the way I feel about Darren, about any human. But if it's just the devil using, you know, is he a man of Yahweh or is he the spawn of Satan? That is what's gone on in my head. But it wouldn't make sense because we've got something beautiful. That's what he's made me believe. But why scream at me to prosecute him? Why leave me to sleep rough? Why did he assault me for no reason to antagonise me? Why? Why did he say he saw me as like a wife and wanted a child with me and then say, oh, I just said that because I wanted to know what it's like to be in a relationship? No, I've believed every word that you've said, Darren. You know what? I want someone to take me out of this country. I've never felt this way before because I'm very funny around people. It's got to be someone special. But I truly believe that you've been brought to me, and yet I want to get out of this country and I want, I'll be someone's civil partner. If someone in America wants a civil partner, I'll be like, do you know what? They're abusing me. Get me out of here. I, I can't live without Darren. So this this really is like a kind of final message kind of thing because I can't honestly. I'm trying to get adult social care to help me, someone, anyone, and I can't. Anyway, that's it. That's it. I've said everything I need to say. That's me done now. So um, it's 6:20 in the morning and I haven't slept. So that's me done. Okay. Oh, and Shalom Shabbat Yahweh. And to the lady in America, if you are watching, you might not be watching me, but um uh oh, that's it. I wanted to comment on your video of, oh, that was really creepy, the Halloween thing. The That looks exactly like something out of The Wicker Man. Was that filmed in England? Those masks were more scary than the ones in The Wicker Man, and there's a man at the front who's skipping along in exactly the same way as Christopher Lee in The Wicker Man. Because you know, in my past video, I said how my mother and father saw The Wicker Man in the 70s, and Ingrid Pitt paid me a big compliment at the Birmingham NEC, and yeah, I know I'm blowing my trumpet here. She came up to me, Polish actress. Oh, like, you know, and and it's a very frightening film because it's more like a documentary. It's like a Scottish documentary rather than a horror film, but it's terrifying. It's got a satanic sacrifice, and what you've put on your Facebook wall is very frightening because those masks are so satanic and frightening. They're more scary than the ones in The Wicker Man. And but they're trying to normalize it, like, oh, it's just a pagan thing. And you've got a Father Christmas going ho ho ho, and you've got people with these very frightening masks on, like really, really frightening masks. And it just, ooh, it just made me think of The Wicker Man. I'm just commenting on your video, and I'm going to finish on I'm going to say one other thing as well, because I could be here forever. I've been talking for nearly an hour. I've watched a YouTube video about Denise Williams, aka Vanity. Now, I don't know if you know me, or you know, there might be new people who are watching my videos. You never know. So I do repeat myself a lot. It's a trauma thing, but I do repeat myself because you never know, someone else is watching. You know, put it out there. You know, got to teach people. Basically, I've seen a YouTube video. I already knew when Darren and I came together, our paths crossed, and we. This is before I met Mark Devlin, and I know a lot of people who've met victims of. I've met a victim of satanic ritual abuse in the psychiatric unit. South African lady and a woman from Italy who was human trafficked, and I won't go into it, but anyway. Adamant's best friend worked across the road from our house in Seaford. She was on a list of mysterious celebrity deaths on Mark Devlin's poster of mysterious celebrity deaths. Adamant's punk friend worked across the road from our house in Seaford, my mother's house. When I say our house, I mean my mother. And she got Adamant to write to me because I was an idolater. I idolized Adamant, right? And Adamant used to come to Seaford when he was famous and in recent years. And he sent me a parcel and a letter and bits and pieces, and I was excited. He was making a documentary for Channel 4, and he wrote in the letter to me, he wrote, I'm making a documentary talking about my demons, and he used the word demons of mental illness. Now, I often say this about Adamant. You know, his father was in a paedophile sex ring in Dolphin Square in London, ex-military. His mother, there is Freemasonry, of course, as there always is. His father was military and Freemasonry, and his mother cleaned for Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney, the Beatles came out of Tavistock, that Satanic Institute, and what else was I going to say? And his mother cleaned for Paul McCartney, and she sewed a sleeve of the Queen's wedding dress, which I wish I'd known at the time because my mother would have been fascinated. Because my mother did a painting of the Queen and sent it to her for her coronation in 1953, and it was an amazing painting. My mother was amazing. And my transgender sister is also artistic, but my sister is living as a man. So Bronya got Adamant's punk friend to write to me. And the irony that Jordan, Pamela, said maybe we could build bridges, because if she was alive now and she knew that I had been arrested for refusing to call my sister a man, that's not very punky, is it? That's not very anti establishment to arrest me for my free speech. But anyway, it's the whole punk thing was just another one of those psyops things, because they're all in the club, they're all part of it. So anyway, because Mark Devlin tells you what I already knew, which is the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations is all about psychological, the think, police. Yeah. Right. So anyway, mind control. So Adamant, he worships Baphomet, right? And I've seen a YouTube video of Denise Williams. I already knew that she had become a born again Christian, but like all these rock stars, she was heavily, 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 heavily into the occult, as was Prince. And he was heavily, but Prince and Vanity Denise Williams, they had a lot of childhood trauma, because trauma ties in with the whole satanic. If you know this stuff, then everything I'm saying is no surprise to you. You know it. You either know it or you don't. And basically, I just thought it was rather interesting. I already knew that Adamant had dated Vanity, Denise Williams, and Prince had a fight with Adamant. He actually beat him up because she was used by a lot of men, and especially these rock stars. And they were all heavily into the occult, and they've all had these demons. Now, Denise Williams was obviously very sexualized, and she had a drugs problem. She was actually introduced to drugs initially when she met Adamant and she started dating him. It was what's her name's daughter, Liza Minnelli, who tried to offered her cocaine, and then she met Adamant, and then she started dating Adamant. And it was in 1999 that Adamant got. When I discovered Adamant in 1999, he was still chasing after Denise Williams, and he got a limousine for her, and Prince was jealous because Prince has since in 2016 Prince had a very dodgy death. I knew there was something suspicious about his death, as with all of them. So this was before I discovered Mark Devlin and met him. And Prince was exposing chemtrails, because everywhere in the UK people are always posting on Facebook pictures of chemtrails, so it's all there. It's just not working. They want it to F up people like me, but I've got the blood of Yeshua, you know. And I follow a lot of people like Dr. William Schnoblum, who was a high satanic priest and has exposed vampires, because blood drinking is real in Hollywood. And we've got wonderful people like Roseanne Barr, who's exposed. Oh, she's also. I thought she said I've still got a problem with astrology. She shares a birthday with Adamant. And astrology does affect my mind, because I was heavily into that side of the occult. I've just discovered that Darren was born. I like this. I like Little House on the Prairie, and there's a boy called who plays Andrew Garby. and Darren was born on his fourth birthday, and I was born on Brooke Burns's fourth birthday. She's a Baywatch, ex Baywatch babe. But yeah, no, birthdays, astrology, something about birthdays. Um, it's a good thing I wasn't born on the 15th of March, because 1 + 5 is 6. It's the devil's card. See, I've learned so much about numerology, and how, this book that I had about Hollywood relationships, and it's an Illuminati book, because it delves into birthdays and astrology. You could go down so many rabbit holes. That's the tree of knowledge, you see, that they've eaten from. But yeah, yeah. But I just thought I'd just brush over that. And I also think it's interesting that Denise Williams' Vanity. I'll just say this to be humorous. I used to pretend that Adamant's Strip album was made for me, because, oh, by the way, also, for anyone who doesn't know, that's, if when you hear the song Strip, that is the voice of Frida from ABBA. You know, when I was talking about ABBA, and the how Devlin has mentioned that ABBA um, normalized divorce, and how that affected me and my parents. And I was heavily into ABBA before I was into Adamant. Well, Adamant got Frida to sing on the Strip album, and he used ABBA's studio in Stockholm to do the Strip album with Phil Collins. And one of the songs is called Vanity. And I didn't know this at the time when I was heavily into Adamant, but he wrote the song Vanity for Vanity, Denise Williams, because I pretended that I was his girlfriend. He had loads of girlfriends. I pretended that I was his girlfriend, Karen Lando. And it's interesting because Karen Lando had a, a child by um, what's the name of the actor who played Robin Hood in 1984? Well, Alan, whose father was a Freemason, the one who had to stop Princess Margaret from marrying Peter Townsend, that Alan, he knows someone who knows that Michael Praed, that's it, Michael Praed, who played Robin Hood in 1984. Well, he got Adamant's girlfriend. He had a child by Adamant's girlfriend from the Strip album, and I used to dress like her from the Strip album, with the big shoulder pads and the boots, Puss in Boots. And it's only in recent years that I've noticed she's doing the Masonic hand gesture. That I know I shouldn't do it, but that's a female part, and that's a male part. I still remember John in New York. That oh that I don't want to talk about it, but he got me to win the best dressed person in New York at the ad party. And he said to me, "That means okay," and I'm like, "Yeah, we all know that that's the American okay." I know Adamant is always doing that. Why does he do that? Why does he always do the okay symbol? And then 2 years later, I get a laptop, and then I get all these videos that I didn't I go on YouTube, and automatically there's all this Illuminati stuff. I didn't even go looking for it. It was just there. So then Darren comes along, and this is 10 years ago. And I said, Darren, there are all these videos that I've only just got this laptop, and there are all these videos. So it's like all of this has happened for a reason. Our paths crossed, Darren was picking up these things, the Green Man, which really is satanic. It really, really is evil. It's not just a pagan green face, a man with a green leaves on his face. No, there are Satanists out there who dress up in the garb that you're showing on your Facebook wall. That I'm talking to that American lady, and I was telling someone this that it was. I phoned him up. What's his name? John Wedger. I had his phone number. I rang him up. Well, I had bruises all over my body caused by Eastbourne Police. This is the ex Scotland Yard detective. I phoned him up. He was the one who said that there are people that go into the woods wearing Green Man masks and capes, and they rape and sodomize. They sodomize boys. They strip them naked and paint them, and they hunt them down. And sometimes it ends in satanic sacrifice. And they're wearing the Green Man emblems and stuff. And when Darren first came into my flat and he said this is not good, I thought And then I find I'm doing the same thing with my sister Bronya in front of her support worker who's swearing at me because I won't call her my sister a man. And she's supposed to be a support worker. So this is what I'm saying. This is what I've had to put up with for a long time. But I'm awake. I'm fully awake. Um, but I've just been watching another YouTube video about Denise Williams' Vanity, who, as I said, she and my idol Adamant and Prince, they all were into idolatry and they worship demons. Adamant wrote to me as his real name, Stuart Goddard, and he said, I'm making a documentary about my demons, and there's a reason why he's saying demons. I'm Darren will tell you. At one time, I behaved in a way that wasn't. I said something and I behaved in a way that wasn't me, and I felt a bit demonic. I mean, I don't. Where do we draw the line though? Because I mean, I had an incident when I was a child where I terrified Rebecca. These are the children of the mother of children I played with, and Ray Savage, one of the speakers at the Truthers Conference, dated the mother of those children, and I terrified Rebecca because I went a bit demonic one time. But I think we all do that sometimes. But yes, and Ray Savage met the mother of Ella Draper, the Hampstead satanic case. But he's in a village not too far from here, and I need to leave a note for Patsy because he said the 77 Brigade is targeting us. So I don't know. He said his nephew was found in the harbour with concrete tied to his legs. And I need to know, I want him to know that I was locked out of my supported flat at SDR Living on news my father died, because this involves Andy Camfield, who's in prison. All these people. I mean, where all these people. Oh, we get complaints about that place all the time, and then he's on the local ITV news, and then he's in prison. It's ridiculous. It's insane. So, don't shoot the messenger. Don't call me insane. I'm the survivor of the insanity. But I tell you what, it's been an amazing journey to meet all these really interesting people. What I was going to say about Vanity, Denise Williams, because she died shortly after, or she died around the same time as Prince. She became a born again Christian, even though they were all Satanists and into the occult and everything. She told her fans to get rid of all her fan stuff, but they don't because it's all got demonic attachments. What I find really interesting, you know, the guy who played Flash Gordon, the one with the blonde hair who looks like He-Man. He was another guy, by the way, who gave me a very nice smile at the Birmingham NEC. Um, he and Denise Williams did Bible studies together. Isn't that, that's something, isn't it? That's really interesting. Um, and he doesn't look like the blonde haired guy. And they were doing this back in the early 90s, I think. Yeah. Have you noticed, like, I know I said Dave Prowse, who played Darth Vader, used to ring me up. I've met a lot of we've all in my family we've met a lot of famous people. I used to think that Darth Vader reminded me of that Clytus. That guy, that evil guy really scared me when I saw it on the TV when I was a child, when I was little. But in recent years, I've noticed the Masonic compass. Yeah, is in the demonic, the evil realm of that Clytus. There's a Masonic compass symbol. So when you know what to look for in movies, it's all there in plain sight. Yeah. I used to think it reminded me of Star Wars because those strange creatures with the masks reminded me of stormtroopers. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I got a bit turned on as a child. I was about 5 or 6 at the time. The bit where that woman is being held down and she's being flogged, and uh, and even Clytus says, "I think she rather enjoyed it." And I think this is where I got a bit of a sort of weird, I don't know, perversion fetish that which Adamant obviously encouraged because he talked about, and drew images of whips, and he even sent me pictures of satanic masks, which I then drew. I never told my mother this because I think it might have freaked her out. But he sent me pictures, postcards of women tied up and gagged. It didn't scare me at the time because I didn't know the stuff that I now know. It was like pictures of Betty Page, but a lot of this stuff is that it originates from all the, but anyway, I just thought I'd throw that into the mix because I met I did have some funny little moments at the Birmingham NEC when the Oompa Loompa held me by the hand and said, "I'm going to take you to meet R2D2," and everybody's laughing at us because I'm 6'7", wearing 6 or 7 inch platform heels, which kill my balls of my feet, beginning. Brian Blessed laughing and everybody laughing because I've got an Oompa Loompa from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I'm tall, holding hands with him, and it's like, oh, that was about 20 years ago. 20, yes, 20 years ago that was. Time flies. But I'm now lost in this. I say I'm lost. I'm lost. I need a lot of help, but I'm also in a place of peace because if I do myself in, I've got all this knowledge. So I've had all these nasty things happen to me. I need help. I need support. No one's doing bugger all. But I've got all this knowledge. Darren said knowledge is power, but I tell you what, I don't I don't gaslight anyone. I don't do evil. I don't bully bullies. I do like gaslighting the devil because you need to use evil for good. And by that I don't mean I do any sale. I only speak the truth. Only. But I just need my partner to be honest with me because um anyway, I've said everything I need to say. So shalom Shabbat, yeah.